So we're back with the Moncton Tigers once again, and we have to win this team a Stanley Cup, but unfortunately they only have 0 overall players here. They don't have a single good player on their team, but that's perfectly fine because we're still going to win this team a Stanley Cup through the wheel of NHL cover athletes. So how this is going to work is I have every single NHL game on this wheel right here, and it looks like we're going to be starting with NHL 22. And with that being such a recent game, I already remember who's on the cover. That's going to be Austin Matthews. So Austin Matthews is going to be the first player added to the Moncton Tigers here, starting at 95 overall. But on top of having to remove NHL 22 from the wheel, we also have to remove NHL 20 because Austin Matthews was the cover athlete in that game as well. And I'm not bringing 2 Austin Matthews to the team. We're only bringing 1. But yeah, what a wild time that was. Austin Matthews, the cover athlete in NHL 20, NHL 21, it was Alexander Ovechkin. And then they just went right back to Austin Matthews again. Why they did that, I have no clue. But you know what? We're going to vibe. We just got Austin Matthews for the Moncton Tigers. So Austin Matthews, you're going to be the first player added to the Moncton Tigers here. You're surrounded with 0 overall players. It's very clear this team's not going to win a game this season. There is a very good chance this team doesn't even take a shot this season. For Austin Matthews, let's see if you can take 1 shot. For every shot you take, we're going to count that as 1 win. So like always, we're going to go ahead, simulate season number 1, and we're also simulating the postseason because we already know we're not making the playoffs. But while we simulate through season number 1 here, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel because we're still trying to hit 70k by the end of the month. And if you don't subscribe, we won't be able to do that. So we all know the Moncton Tigers are going to finish dead last, but the team that finished second last, the St. Louis Blues, I just feel hurt by that. Like, why does St. Louis Blues always suck in the simulation? We are not the worst team in the entire league. I just will never understand that. Austin Matthews, you picked up 75 penalty minutes and 0 shots this season. Why am I not really surprised? This team had nothing here. When it comes to the goaltending though, these numbers are numbers. A 742 and a 1644. Meanwhile, our backup in Jordan NHL, he's posting a 720 and an 1816. Yeah, these boys are putting up some special numbers this season, no question about it. When it comes to the postseason, we're going to see the Vancouver Canucks win the Stanley Cup, taking down the Buffalo Sabres. But now that this season's wrapped up, it's time for us to add another player. And we still have a lot of NHL games here, and we have a lot of great players available. Give me NHL Slapshot. Alright, we just got Wayne Gretzky, because he was the cover athlete for NHL Slapshot. So Wayne Gretzky, welcome to the Moncton Tigers. You're going to help this team a ton. So NHL Slapshot is literally the best thing we could have gotten, because now we get to add Wayne Gretzky to the team. The greatest player of all time, the GOAT among GOATs. Wayne Gretzky, 97 overall. Welcome to the team. Honestly, I think it's very disrespectful he's not a 99 overall. Like, just make this man a 99. Now, Wayne Gretzky and Austin Matthews are certainly going to score some goals this season. They're definitely going to pick up a handful of shots. But are we going to be close in any of the games we play this season? Absolutely not. This team's still going to get blown out in every game. So technically, Austin Matthews and Wayne Gretzky probably did pick up a point each because we scored 1 goal through the first 4 games, but then the game crashed. So yeah, let's go ahead and spin that wheel again. So we're already building an amazing team here. We have Austin Matthews and we have Wayne Gretzky. Who are we going to be adding next? We're getting the first NHL game, NHL hockey, and I'm not really too happy about this selection. Because who are we going to be getting? Glenn Healey. Now, what do I know about Glenn Healey? Absolutely nothing. So when it comes to Glenn Healey, I actually had to create this player myself because he's not in the current NHL game. However, when creating this player, it was kind of difficult to decide on his overall because I'm going to be honest, I looked at this man's numbers. He was a backup goaltender for basically a majority of his career, so I didn't want to make him a super high overall. On top of that, he really didn't have that good of numbers. Like, this man had a losing record. So yeah, 79 overall, Glenn Healey, that's who we're going to be adding to the team here. Whether this is a fair rating or not, I'm not really too sure. But yeah, he's going to be our starting goaltender from here on out. Now, through adding Glenn Healey, that's the biggest upgrade this team's going to be seeing. Wayne Gretzky, when we added him, this team was still 0 overall. When we added Austin Matthews, still a 0 overall. But Glenn Healey, he single-handedly got us up to a 6 overall. So if you're asking who's the most valuable player, it's clearly him. So it's going to be back-to-back years now. We weren't able to simulate the season. We did make it to the 52 game mark. We didn't win a single game through those 52, but we made it this far. You know what? The team's showing improvement. No, they aren't. That's a complete lie. So we got ourselves a goaltender and 2 great forwards. Let's add a defenseman to the team. It looks like we're going to be landing on NHL 08 here, and that means we're going to be adding a prime Eric Staal to our team. So that's another elite pickup for us. So just a couple days ago, Eric Staal decided he was going to call it a career and retire. And because of that, we're going to be making him an 88 overall here. I'm putting him back in his prime. Maybe he should be a bit higher than that. I just put him at an 88 overall to be fair. Like, I'm not rocking an 81 Eric Staal here. I got to make him at least an 88. Should he be a 90? Probably, but we're just going to keep him at 88 here. So we officially have ourselves one forward line here of Wayne Gretzky, Austin Matthews, and Eric Staal. The question isn't whether or not this team can win a game. The question is, can we get through an entire season here? Like, just don't crash on me. Don't crash, don't freeze. Let me get through one season here. This is ridiculous. This is honestly ridiculous. 12 games. We got through 12 games and this game froze again. We're never going to get through a season. We got through season number 1, haven't been able to get through a season since. Now, I don't know if this game just hates me or something, but why can we not simulate through an entire season? It's ridiculous. So we're going to head all the way back to NHL 11 where we're going to see Jonathan Taves on the cover, and he's going to be the next guy join the team here. So I never really considered when doing a video like this, we're probably going to be adding a lot of forwards to the team. Like there just aren't too many defensemen that ended up being cover athletes, but you know what, we're not going to worry about that right now. Eventually we're probably going to get Kale Marner. Ideally we can get PK Subban in the future, then we're going to have at least 2 defensemen, but we are going to have some forwards playing defense. Let's not worry about that right now. 89 overall, Jonathan Taves is going to be joining the team next year. He's back in his prime here in 89 overall, and he's going to be a great help to this team, but he's only going to be a big help if we can get through a season. So we've got our first 5 players, 4 of them being forwards so far: Wayne Gretzky, Austin Matthews, Jonathan Taves, Eric Staal. We've got our goaltender in Glenn Healey. We do have the potential of adding one of the greatest goaltenders in NHL history onto our team as long as we land on his game. If we land on his game, we're going to be set. Okay, now this is just getting ridiculous. Like this is honestly ridiculous. We have made it through 1 season so far. We're about to add our 6th player to the team, and yet we can't get past the 60 game mark anymore. Like I don't even know what the problem is anymore. Alright, I don't even care what player I get anymore. Just allow me to get through the season. Now NHL 13 is going to be giving us another forward, and he's a great forward in Claude Giroux. However, this isn't the prime version of Claude Giroux. Since he is still an active player, we're just going to be taking his current form. So Claude Giroux, you're going to be the next player we're adding to the team here. Of course, it's going to be another forward. You're still pretty high overall. Like you're an 87, you have a handful of X factors. You're certainly going to help this team, and more than likely you are going to play some first line minutes because you're technically the only true right winger we have. You're a center / right wing, and everyone else is just a center. So yeah, you're going to play some right wing minutes. Now I feel like it wouldn't hurt if we eventually brought a defenseman to the team here. Like we almost have 2 complete forward lines, and we're yet to see a defenseman here. But who really cares how many defensemen we have here? We could have 19 defensemen. If we can't get through a season, it doesn't really matter. So whatever you do, do not crash. And now that I've made this statement, do not crash in the first week. So I feel like now that I've emphasized the fact that I don't want it to crash so much, it's going to crash in the first week. Now it's a historic day. Never did I think that we'd be able to get through a season. And on top of that, I did not expect this team to be winning this season. A 179-2 record. This team's starting to pick it up. Like the fact that we won 1 game this season is actually a bit of a miracle. I think the fact that we actually got through a season is also a miracle. Wayne Gretzky 63 points here. Austin Matthews picking up 51. Claude Giroux 44. Eric Staal and Jonathan Taves, they held it down as they could. 16 points and 19 points. We do have to remember they did have a 0 overall at their side, so they can only do so much. And then when it comes to Glenn Healey here, 1 win, 2 OT losses, 1 shutout, an 897 and a 597. Hey, these aren't great numbers here, but you did help us win 1 game. Now I don't really care who won the Stanley Cup. It looks like it was the New York Rangers. Who did we beat? So winning the Stanley Cup is one thing, so shout out to the New York Rangers, but getting a win with the Moncton Tigers, that's something special. And which team are we going to be beating? It looks like we're going to be beating the Philadelphia Flyers in overtime. We're taking that game 2-1. So Philadelphia, you're going to be the first team losing to the Moncton Tigers. That's definitely not something to be proud of. So we finally made it through a season here. We already got our first win. What's going to be happening next? Well, we're going to be heading all the way back to NHL 94. And NHL 94, I'm actually really liking that cover. And the reason I'm going to be liking that cover so much is because we're actually going to be bringing 2 players to the team here. Thomas Sandstrom, he's going to be joining from the LA Kings. Now on top of adding Sandstrom, we're also going to be bringing Andy Moog to the team here, a Boston Bruins legend. He's going to be a fantastic goaltender for us. This team's receiving 2 massive upgrades here. So the team's going to be receiving 2 massive upgrades. The first is going to be Andy Moog, an 87 overall. He's the new starting goaltender for this team. He's going to be saving us in between the pipes. Now our next player is going to be from the LA Kings here, Thomas Sandstrom, 85 overall. So we officially have 2 forward lines here. We have 2 great goaltenders. Now we just need some defensemen. Like I know for a fact that we're not going to be able to get 6 defensemen from NHL cover athletes, but you know what? I would like to bring a couple to the team. Kale Marner, PK Subban, you guys would be great for us. So as I just said, we officially have 2 forward lines here. We have some great forwards. The defense, this is what the defense looks like, so we're never going to win until we have some guys playing defense. Andy Moog, you're going to be the starting goaltender, 87 overall. You're going to be helping this team a ton. Now, moving from our starter to the backup, that's going to be Glenn Healey. In the past, he was a great goaltender for us. He helped the Moncton Tigers get their first ever win. Now he's going to be moving into the backup position, but we'll never forget Glenn. He was a major part to this team's success. Now, I really don't know what to say about what just happened here, but how did the Moncton Tigers technically have a worse record? A 180-1 record. Like, we scored less goals this season. We technically had less points because we had 2 OT losses last season. How did this team get worse after adding 2 more players to the team? Wayne Gretzky, you were significantly worse, 47 points here. Austin Matthews, 37. Claude Giroux, 34. Bro, this makes no sense. Sandstrom, how did you only pick up 5 points? Bro, you were an 85 overall, playing second line minutes here. 3 goals, 2 assists for 5 points. How does that even happen? Andy Moog, 1 win here, 1 OT loss, a 905 and a 553, and you only could win 1 game this season. I don't know what happened to this team. I don't know why we took such a significant step back, but we did. The Tampa Bay Lightning are Stanley Cup champions here, but what just happened to the Moncton Tigers? What happened to the greatness they were showing in the past? So NHL 94, you were discussed as one of the best NHL games of all time, but you really screwed me there. Earlier in the video, we landed on NHL 11 and we added Jonathan Taves to the team. We might be moving back a year, but we're still going to be adding a former Blackhawk to the team, and that's going to be Patrick Kane as the NHL 10 cover athlete. Now I'm going to give our team 2 more spins here, and if we don't get a defenseman in the next 2 spins here, then we're going to be making a forward play some defensive minutes. Patrick Kane, you're going to be the next guy we bring to the team here, 89 overall with the superstar X factor. You're going to play some first line minutes alongside Wayne Gretzky and Austin Matthews, but as I just said, if we don't get a defenseman in the next couple spins here, you might be playing some defensive minutes. Now the forwards are going to keep on joining the team here. Patrick Kane, Wayne Gretzky, Austin Matthews is the top line, Jonathan Taves, Eric Staal, and Claude Giroux is the second line. There's no question about it, we're going to have the best offensive core in the league. When it comes to our defense, that's going to be the worst. So can our offense outscore our problems? We're going to find that out pretty quick. So I'm happy to say the Moncton Tigers are making massive strides this season. A 5-77 record. We had 3 wins in regulation. 3 wins in regulation is massive for this team. On top of that, we were over a goal per game here and leading us in points. That's going to be Austin Matthews ahead of Wayne Gretzky. Now that is something very interesting. Patty Kane's picking up 53 points here. Jonathan Taves, Eric Staal, Claude Giroux, you guys were all looking great. Sandstrom, you're playing third line minutes. I can't really expect too much from you. Meanwhile, when it comes to goaltending, Andy Moog, you did what you could, picking up 4 wins this season, a 905 and a 539. I guess I'll take it considering we have no defense in front of you. But one of these days we do have to add a defenseman here. Whether that's an actual defenseman or a forward we make a defenseman, it doesn't matter. We got to give Andy some help. Also, shout out to the Toronto Maple Leafs somehow winning the Stanley Cup, beating the Boston Bruins in the conference finals. Let's relax with all this unrealistic stuff happening. So on top of wanting a defenseman here, another thing I want is some of the really old NHL games, because most of the time they have multiple cover athletes. And speaking of getting multiple players, that's what we're getting with NHL 96 here. Scott Stevens from the New Jersey Devils and Steve Yzerman from the Detroit Red Wings. Welcome to the Moncton Tigers. Now surprisingly, I actually really don't care that much about getting Stevie Y here. Yeah, he's a great player, 92 overall, but we finally got ourselves a defenseman here. We're going to be adding the first defenseman to the team. It's coming from the New Jersey Devils. Scott Stevens, you're going to be helping us a ton here. Hold on, is Scott Stevens really not on the New Jersey alumni team? I was positive this man was already in the game. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I was fully convinced that Scott Stevens was on the New Jersey Devils alumni team, and I haven't created a player for him. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and then add Scott Stevens to the team. I haven't figured out what his overall is going to be, but yeah, I'm going to go ahead and create that man. Why is he not on the New Jersey Devils alumni? I couldn't tell you. To be fair, I feel like if you're a cover athlete for one of the previous NHL games, you should probably just be on the alumni team no matter what. Or not even the alumni team, just make a cover athletes team. Like, there's enough players where you can make a full team just based on cover athletes. So Steve Yzerman, I'm going to have you play some second line minutes this season. You're going to be between Claude Giroux and Jonathan Taves. So that's going to be a great second line. Eric Staal, you're going to be moving down to the third line, but that's perfectly fine. When it comes to the defense, we finally have somebody that can help the team. It's going to be 88 overall Scott Stevens. I made him an 88 overall. I feel like that's pretty fair for him. This man was constantly in the Norris conversation, so I feel like an 88 overall makes sense. I didn't give him any X factors. We're not really going to worry about that. I also made him an enforcer because I feel like that makes sense for a guy that picked up basically like 2,800 penalty minutes. I feel like they should be an enforcer. So now that we finally have a defenseman here, we are going to see a massive improvement in the record, a 10-71-1 record, but we're still a long ways away from being one of the best teams in the entire league and a long ways away from winning a Stanley Cup. Like, we're still allowing 5.22 goals per game. Definitely not good enough. But you know what? We are making strides in the right direction here. Wayne Gretzky, 69 points. Austin Matthews, 65. And Patty Kane, he's going to be picking up 59. Meanwhile, Andy, what were you up to this season? 9 wins, a 901 save percentage, and a 505 goals against. I'm not going to complain about these numbers right here. You were locked in. So one defenseman's not going to cut it here. So we're going to have to spin that wheel and ideally get another defenseman here. And I'm really hoping for Kale McCarr. Kale McCarr is the one defenseman I want to get. Like, PK Subban would be good as well, but Kale McCarr is that man. Like, if we were able to pick up 95 overall or 96 overall Kale McCarr, that would be an absolute game changer. I actually don't even recall what his overall is. It's high 90s, that's all I remember. But you know what? We don't have to worry about getting Kale McCarr as another defenseman, because who are we going to be getting instead? Dion Phaneuf, as he was the cover athlete for NHL 09. So Dion Phaneuf, welcome to the team. So the next player joined the team, of course, is another defenseman, Dion Phaneuf. I had to create this guy as well. I made him an 86 overall with medium league potential. I feel like that's a fair rating for Dion. You can maybe go up to an 87, maybe an 88 overall max, but 86 overall, that's pretty fair. So we officially have our first defensive pairing here. It's going to be Scott Stevens alongside Dion Phaneuf. Two defensemen are going to be able to hold it down in 86 and an 88. This is massive upgrades for the team here. I think there's a good chance that we win 15, maybe even 20 games this season. So we added Dion Phaneuf to the team. That's going to help our defense a ton here. We're clearly going to win at least 15 games, maybe even 20. Yeah, an 11 and 71 record is something. Yeah, we were not good this season. We were not good in the slightest. Wayne Gretzky, 64 points here. Patty Kane, he's picking up 64. Austin Matthews, 61. The big three is doing their thing. But yeah, our team was just not that good. I mean, I take it back. Dion Phaneuf, you had 18 points and you're minus 38. So you held up your end of the bargain. I think you had the best plus minus on this team. Never mind, Jonathan Taves said Scott Stevens was ahead of you, but you were tied with Claude Giroux for third. So Dion Phaneuf, you had one of the best plus minuses on this team. We just weren't good enough this season, plain simple. I don't know if it was the offense, I don't know if it was the defense. I think it was just a bit of everything. The Colorado Avalanche are going to be winning the Stanley Cup in 7 games with the New Jersey Devils. It's time for us to go ahead and add another defenseman. But you know what? We've added back-to-back defensemen here, so I wouldn't be against adding another forward to the team. It looks like we're going to be landing on NHL 98 next, and the only unfortunate thing about this old NHL title is there's not multiple players on the cover. However, we are getting Peter Forsberg, and I can definitely live with Peter Forsberg. So we landed on NHL 98, and that means we're going to be adding Peter Forsberg to the team. He's probably going to play some top line minutes for us. I can almost guarantee this man's going to play some top line minutes for us. He's going to be one of the best players here. 93 overall Peter Forsberg. I'm going to have him play on the right wing alongside Wayne Gretzky and Austin Matthews. Yeah, that's a super team right there. So look at that first line. Wayne Gretzky, Austin Matthews, and Peter Forsberg. That's a super line right there. One of the best you're ever going to see. Jonathan Taves, Steve Yzerman, Patty Kane. That's actually a really solid line as well. Like, the only thing this team's struggling with right now is the defense, but that's going to be fixed in this next upcoming spin. I don't care if we get a forward. I don't care if we get a defenseman. I don't care if we get a goaltender. Whoever we get, they're going to be playing defense for us. So who needs defense when you can score goals like this? The Moncton Tigers. Okay, I don't care about the record. We don't have the worst offense in the NHL right now. We have the third worst offense. We were scoring more goals than the Nashville Predators and New York Islanders. Yeah, we won 20 games this season, but I did not expect us to not be dead last when it comes to our offense. Yeah, our defense is still terrible, but it's the fact that our offense is much improved here. Austin Matthews, 97 points, including 55 goals. Wayne Gretzky, 96 points. Peter Forsberg, 86. Yeah, we got ourselves a big three, and this team's not slowing down anytime soon. Meanwhile, Andy Moog, keep on doing your thing with 19 wins, a 907 save percentage, and a 401 goals against, the best season we've seen yet. But now that I saw what you did with adding one more forward to the team, I can't wait to see what you do once we bring another defenseman. So let's go ahead, spin the wheel once again here, and figure out which game we're going to be heading to. NHL 2000. And in NHL 2000, a special NHL in my opinion, because not only are we going to be getting a defenseman here, but we're getting a former St. Louis Blues defenseman. We're going to be getting Chris Pronger. Now Chris Pronger is going to be absolutely massive for us. We're bringing in one of the best defensemen, 92 overall defensive defenseman. He's going to be the best defenseman we're going to see today, unless we get Kale Marner. If we don't get Kale Marner, 92 overall Chris Pronger is probably going to be the highest overall. So Chris Pronger, you're certainly going to make our team better. 92 overall with a superstar X factor. You're going to lead the defense here. You're going to have Scott Stevens at your side. Playing on the second pairing, we're going to see Dion Phaneuf here. Unfortunately, he is with a 0 overall player, but that's going to be changing pretty soon. This team's only a couple players away from not being dead last in the entire league, and then maybe 5 players away from competing for a playoff spot. Now, the Moncton Tigers took some massive strides this season, almost second last in the entire league. The Florida Panthers, a team that won the Stanley Cup, by the way, are finishing second last in the entire league, but that's not the point here. We were 7 points away from passing the Florida Panthers. This makes no sense. Like, respectfully, this team right here won the Stanley Cup, second last in the entire league in this simulation. I can't even focus on how good Moncton did this season because of that ridiculousness right there. Wayne Gretzky, you were great, 90 points. Austin Matthews, you did your thing. Peter Forsberg, you did your thing. Andy, you held it down in between the pipes here. Can't complain about what you did. Both goaltenders are picking up shutouts. But the Florida Panthers really just finished second last there. Like the Stanley Cup Florida Panthers, the team that's comprised of all the same players. These rosters aren't updated after free agency. Nope, these are the exact rosters from the ending of last season, meaning that's the Florida Panthers Stanley Cup team. Second last in the entire league. Ain't no way that just happened. But you know what? Let's focus on some positives here. 7 points behind the second worst team in the entire league. Moncton's not going to be last place next season, that's for sure. But you know what? We can't focus on who's second last in the entire league. We got to focus on who's going to be first in the future, and that's going to be the Moncton Tigers. Tigers. NHL 99 is going to be another great game for us because who are we going to be bringing to the team? Well, an absolute legend in Eric Lindros. We even gotten NHL 98, 99, and 2000 in the last couple spins here. We've just been sticking around that time frame. So Eric Lindros, you're going to be an amazing player for us, but I guess the real question is, are you going to be a forward for this team? Because I did say we need another defenseman here. So Eric Lindros, I might have you play defensive minutes for us. I'm not going to lie, you might be one of our first pairing defensemen. So I'm making the executive decision. Eric Lindros, you're 92 overall. Really don't want you playing defensive minutes here. So yeah, you're going to be our second line centerman, and it's going to be Eric Lindros, Steve Yzerman, and Patty Kane on that second line. So the Moncton Tigers are getting very close to not being dead last in the entire league. It was a 5-point difference this time, a 26-52-4 record. The only reason we're not second last in the entire league here is because Calgary had more overtime losses. When it came to our wins, we were exactly the same. Now the big reason on why we didn't finish second last in the entire league, the offense just wasn't as good. Like, we didn't have a single point a game player here. Not really too sure how that happens. And then when it comes to goaltending, this was actually a lot better. Andy Moog, 21 wins this season, a 915 to 344. These are actually good numbers. I mean, they're good numbers considering you don't have a defense in front of you. But you know what? It's just not good enough for us to be winning a Stanley Cup here. So we're going to see the New York Rangers sweeping the Minnesota Wild. So we all know what I want here. I want NHL 24 because I want to bring Kale Marner to the team. It doesn't look like we're going to be getting NHL 24. It's NHL 18 instead. But you know what? I can live with NHL 18 because I'm happy to bring Conor McDavid to the team. So Conor McDavid, welcome to the team here. You're going to be the second highest overall. You're actually tied for the highest overall alongside Wayne Gretzky. Like, respectfully, I don't believe Conor McDavid and Wayne Gretzky should have the same overall. It just doesn't seem right. Yes, Conor McDavid's an incredible player, but I just feel like he shouldn't have the same overall as Wayne Gretzky. So as we know, Conor McDavid's going to be joining the team here, but you might notice we still have 2 0 overall forwards on the team. And why is that? Well, the game decided to put Eric Staal as one of our defensemen. So we're just going to do that. If the game decided that's what it wants, that's where Eric Staal is going to play. So Eric Staal, you're going to be a right defenseman for us this season. What could possibly go wrong? Now we have some big things to celebrate with the Moncton Tigers. We weren't dead last. We weren't second last, third last, fourth last, or fifth last. 24th in the entire league. A 40-39-3 record. Eric Staal, you should have been playing defense a long time ago for us. Wayne Gretzky, it's going to be the first 100-point campaign we're going to see. 54 goals and 47 helpers. Conor McDavid was great. Bro was plus 34 this season. Peter Forsberg was plus 29. Yeah, we knew how to score goals this season. We actually might have had one of the best offenses. But you know what? We're just going to be outside the postseason. And why is that? Because we don't have the defense here. Once we get the defense, this team's going to be unstoppable. Kale Marner, I would love for you to join the team. PK Subban, you'd be great as well. At this point, I don't even care who we get. Just give me a defenseman. So let's go ahead and spin the wheel of NHL games once again here and figure out where we're going to be headed. NHL 24, Kale Marner, welcome to the team. It's time to win a Stanley Cup. This is an absolute game changer. So Kale Marner, you're going to single-handedly change this challenge. We officially have 4 real defensemen here. 5 if you're going to count Eric Staal, because the way that man played last season, he's a real defenseman. Just look at this glorious defense right here. Chris Pronger, Kale Marner, Dion Phaneuf, Scott Stevens, and then Eric Staal, as we know, one of the greatest defensemen of all time. A two-way forward playing defense, but this man knows how to play defense. Now this team is getting very close to making the playoffs. I think if we bring one more defenseman to the team, we'll be able to do it. 16th in the entire league, a 43-36-3 record. I mean, to be fair, the only reason we didn't make the postseason, OT losses. Like, if we had a couple more OT losses, we probably could have made the playoffs. Like usual, it's no surprise who's going to be leading the team. It's Wayne Gretzky, Austin Matthews, Conor McDavid, Kale Marner, the usual suspects here. And then when it comes to goaltending, that's actually looking really good this season, but it's the backup who let us down. Glenn Healey, you have to be better than a 6-12 record. If you were just slightly better this season, we're in the playoffs. Andy Moog held it down as a great goaltender for us. The Dallas Stars going to be winning the Stanley Cup, taking down the Boston Bruins, and Boston was what, 15th in the entire league? That team wasn't too far ahead of the Moncton Tigers. So here we go, the biggest spin yet. Whoever we get here is going to be completely changing this team. NHL 95 is actually going to be very good. And why is NHL 95 so good? Because we're going to be getting multiple players here, starting with Alexei Koivulev. Probably said that name wrong, but we're also getting Kirk McLean. And I definitely said that one right. So we're going to be starting with Alexei Koivulev here, a player I had to create. 88 overall sniper. He's got high top 6 potential, but I don't care about that potential. I just care about him being an 88 overall. So this man's going to be a great help to the Moncton Tigers. But on top of bringing him to the team, we also have to head down to the Vancouver Canucks, and we got to bring Kirk McLean to the team. The only problem with Kirk McLean, he's a goaltender. Really don't need another goaltender here, but hey, an 85 overall is the backup. We're going to be in a great spot with 2 amazing goaltenders. So we have one more forward left to bring to the team, but we technically actually don't need to bring another forward here because we do have Eric Staal playing defense. So I could technically move him back to the forward core, and then we would have a complete forward core here, but no, we're not doing that. And then when it comes to goaltending, Kirk McLean, you're going to be a great backup for us. So here we are, second best in the entire league, only behind the Colorado Avalanche, a 51-26-5 record. Who needs a third pairing defense? Who needs a fourth line? The Moncton Tigers are here to win. Wayne Gretzky, 112 points, 46 goals. Austin Matthews, 46 goals, 98 points. Conor McDavid, 96 points. He's got 29 goals. This team stepped up when they had to. We're elite from top to bottom. The goaltending is still questionable here. Andy Moog, 39 wins is great. A 905 isn't the best, and a 301 is not convincing for me. But you know what? That's because we don't have a third pairing defense, and that's because we don't have a fourth line. But you know what? We're going to outscore our problems this season. We have the Winnipeg Jets in the first round. It's time for this team to lock in. So we got ourselves the Winnipeg Jets in the first round. The way the Moncton Tigers have been looking, I don't see us losing here. We have a 3-1 series lead on the Jets, and we're going to be closing that out in game number 5. So we were able to take down the Winnipeg Jets, and that was a nice warm-up matchup for us. But now we have to take on another 50-win team in the Vancouver Canucks. If we want to beat a team like the Vancouver Canucks, the best players have to show up. So Moncton, you know what's on the line here. You have to beat one of the best in the Vancouver Canucks, and if you're able to do that, I'm going to have full confidence in this team. I was not expecting a sweep. Yeah, this team's legit. Now, this is a matchup where I'm going to be a bit scared, I'm not going to lie. Yes, the Edmonton Oilers only won 45 games, but they did beat the Colorado Avalanche in the first round, and they do have Conor McDavid on their team. I don't care if we have Conor McDavid. They also have Conor McDavid, and if that man wants to turn it up, he can turn it up. So we're 8-1 in the postseason, but this is going to be our most important matchups. We split the series with the Edmonton Oilers. Don't lose game 5. Whatever you do, don't lose game 5. Win game number 6 here and move on to the Stanley Cup final. Why do we have to go to game 7? Why are you doing this? Well, here we go. Game 7, Edmonton Oilers taking on the Moncton Tigers. In the first period, Corey Perry and Zach Hyman. No way we're losing this game because of those two guys. We're responding in the second period, though. We're making this a tie game, entering the third period. And in the third period, who's going to show up? Patrick Kane's going to save the day. We don't deserve to be in the Stanley Cup final here, but I'll definitely take it. So it all comes down to this. One final matchup. All we have to do is beat the Tampa Bay Lightning in a best-of-7 game series. Moncton, you guys have been dominant so far. I want you to continue that dominance. So it's time for the boys to lock in. The Moncton Tigers need to win 4 more games here. And you know what? I'm not really convinced so far. We split the series with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Don't drop game number 5. Okay, that's good. We won game number 5 here. Now close it out in game 6. I don't want to head to game 7. Why are you always doing this to me? So here we go. Game 7. Whatever you do, don't play the fourth line. If we don't play the fourth line, we should be able to win. We're picking up 3 goals in the first period. That's not enough. Pick up another 3 in the second. All right, we have scored 6 goals in this game, but it is still a 3-goal game. I am not convinced unless we score another 3 in the third period. You guys got to close this out, or just don't allow any goals in the third period and don't score any. We're winning game 7 6-3. I'll take it. The Moncton Tigers are Stanley Cup champions, and we won a Stanley Cup using only cover athletes. Now, if we want to talk about the most valuable players here, you're looking at guys such as Conor McDavid, Wayne Gretzky, Austin Matthews, Kale Marner, and then when it comes to the goaltending, Andy Moog, you held it down here. 15 wins, 3 shots, a 919, a 268. But you know who's the true MVP? Eric Staal. Without that man, we are not winning a Stanley Cup here. What were his defensive numbers? That man was holding it. No, he was not. Okay, he was not holding it down. The third line was abysmal. I don't know if this was the third or fourth line. Actually, I think it was the fourth line. Claude Giroux, minus 15. Sandstrom, minus 17. Okay, we did not deserve to win that Stanley Cup, but you know what? I'm going to take it. The Moncton Tigers, Stanley Cup champions. Shout out to Eric Staal. He was a game changer for us.